Hoop Pets Podcast. It's Mike Lensing here with my co-host Jason Suckle tonight. Thanksgiving week, so we're going a little bit earlier in the week this week. Decided to record on Monday night, which we did last week, right? Did we do Monday? Now,
Yeah,
did we
two
do
weeks in a
Monday
row,
last week?
baby. But listen,
Two
I
weeks
think
in
I
a row.
think at this point, Mike, the NBA pods are gonna be flexible when they meet our schedules that we have, because of
Probably true.
your kid, your kids' basketball schedules and the holidays and all that stuff. When we get closer to the holidays, I'm gonna guess we're gonna avoid later in the week because of holidays and stuff. So listeners, just be on the lookout for our NBA pods when they show up. Right? That's where we're
Right.
going.
Whenever, wherever. So it is Thanksgiving week. So what we thought we would do is go over some of the things in the NBA that we are thankful for. So we each came up with three things in the NBA that we're thankful for. But Jay, I think you're going to give us the update on the
Oh yeah.
wins and losses pool right now first before we get into our thankfulness.
Yeah, so here's the update. Mike is now, instead of being up 11, he is up 13. So congrats to Mike. He's maintaining his lead. All right, so that's where we're at. He's me
Here we
he's
go.
maintaining
I
his
feel
lead.
good. I feel good. I feel good about my chances to finally get off the schneid in this competition and
I will say,
work my
Mike,
way
and
back.
I don't have it pulled up right now, but going back, hindsight's 2020. We both picked the Nets to be over 20 and a half wins. Um, I don't know if that's happening, Mike. We both
Hey,
picked the
they
Nets.
got three. They got three wins.
Yeah, the 3 and 14. Let's extrapolate that out, Mike. They're on pace for about 14 or 15 wins if we
Yeah, they
extrapolate
may
that out. So
they may not win more than that. If you look at the bottom of the East, the standings are hilarious because the Wizards have one win, the Pacers have two, the Nets have three, and the Hornets have four. So it goes from the bottom one, two, three, four. I don't think I've ever seen that in the NBA before. So those are, let's put it this way: Washington, Indiana, and Brooklyn are just completely. I mean, they are horrendous teams. Charlotte is, at least they can lay claim to the fact that Brandon Miller has been injured and Knipple looks like he could be right there in the rookie of the year race. He just keeps getting better and better each and every game, shooting percentage and his ability to play all over the floor. For Charlotte, he's been really good. But man, those three bottom teams are the Nets and Wizards are just they are atrocious. Anybody who loses a game to any of those teams throughout the year is just you're going to leave that game kicking yourself if if you lose to one of those teams if you're a contender in any way.
yeah. All right. So at that point, we're gonna move to the three things we're thankful for. Mike, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Why don't you take the first one?
All right. So I'm gonna start with something that you probably would have picked. So I don't know if I'm gonna steal yours, Mike, but I'm just gonna go with Nikola Jokic just absolutely tearing it up again this season. Like just having a season that is ridiculous. And if we were to like talk about, I remember back to when we were sitting here talking about Russell Westbrook averaging a triple double. Let me just read Jokic's stat line after tonight's game, which he had another triple double tonight. Jokic is averaging 30.4 points in the league. That's sixth in the league. He's averaging 13 rebounds a game. That's first in the league. He's averaging 10.8 assists, and that's first in the league. He's shooting 63% from the field. Um, let's see. Tonight he was 17, 10, and 16. All right. He's shooting 86% from the free throw line, 45% from behind the arc. He is getting 1.5 steals per game. Like that's just ridiculous. Those all those things I just said to you are absolutely ridiculous. And like it's just when you sit here and think. I remember. I don't know what year that was that Russell Westbrook won the MVP, averaging a triple double for a terrible team. If we're serious, like this is probably right now on pace to having the most ridiculous group of players stat lines that we've ever had, and how anyone is going to pick an MVP between Shea Luka and Denver and Jokic is absolutely, I don't even know. Like, Jokic right now is probably my MVP because of the triple double situation. But if Oklahoma City continues to win and they get, around 70 wins or 68, 69, 70 wins, then that's another conversation we have to have. Like, what's more, like, I don't know. I just think my thankfulness is that Jokic has continued to put up great numbers. And there was, did you see his half court shot tonight, Mike, or not?
I didn't see the half court shot tonight. I've just seen all the ridiculous passes. I was going
He
to ask
he
you if you saw the pass to
Yeah,
the
yeah. Well,
corner.
he made a half court shot with as the time expired, and he just walked off the court. He didn't even. It was like the most nonchalant thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, he just chucked up a three, makes it, and then he just walks back to the bench and sits down. Like, just the most nonchalant thing ever. So, anyways, so when I look at this in the grand scheme of things, I think that the big important thing that we have to think about is, I'm just thankful that Jokic is playing basketball at as high a level as he is, and I guess that we have an interesting MVP debate right now.
So that was one of mine, for sure. And I don't think that you can be an NBA fan and not be thankful for Nikola Jokic. The highlights that he's thrown together in terms of his passing. He had the one the other night where I forget who he threw it to. I think it might have been Peyton Watson in the corner, and Watson missed the shot. But Jokic has basically turned the opposite direction. And then somehow I still can't even figure out how he how he catapulted the ball from the angle that he was. I don't even know how he got anything on the pass, let alone saw the guy, let alone delivered it directly into the guy's shooting pocket, and he missed it. And one of the tweets said this might be the greatest non-assist pass in the history of the league. And he honestly has a highlight or two like that every single game from a passing standpoint. And then there's never been anybody with a softer touch. Like, if you go watch a basketball game, whether it's a high school or a college game, and you look at the number of shots that are missed around the rim or on drives or floaters or whatever, balls that bounce off the rim, balls that hit off the backboard, balls that roll around the rim and roll out. Like, every one of his shots either hits nothing or hits the rim and just dies and rolls into the basket. There's never been anybody that I could ever remember having the kind of touch that he has from around the basket. And then you look at what he's doing from 3-point land this year, taking almost 5 a game and shooting just under 42%. And I know last year he shot just under 42% as well, on slightly less attempts over the course of the season. But I mean, he's shooting 62% from the floor. It's ridiculous. And he does it in all different kinds of ways. He had the drive and the dunk around Şengün the other night when they played and beat the Rockets, where he hit the 2 free throws at the end of the game to win that game. He's just been unbelievably, ridiculous. There's no other way to describe that stat line. And then you compound that with the highlights and the crazy plays that he's come up with. And there's no way that if you're an NBA fan, you can't be thankful for Nikola Jokic. So I'll pick a different one as my third one, but I just wanted to piggyback on what Jokic has done. And we're going to see what Denver is able to do without Aaron Gordon, who's out 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring, which obviously isn't good, because when you think back to the end of the playoff run last year, when Gordon gets hurt in Game 7 against Oklahoma City, and that certainly didn't help Denver's cause in trying to beat the Thunder. And now here we are at the beginning of the next season, and he's having hamstring problems again. So who knows? This could easily be a lingering issue throughout the entire season for Aaron Gordon, which obviously he's a huge piece of what Denver's trying to do now. Jamal Murray's gotten off to a much better start than what he normally does. Usually he's a really, really slow starter, which is why he's never made an all-star team. This year he's off to a start that looks more like the months that he typically has in February or March. So maybe if you get that Jamal Murray for the rest of the season, maybe you're able to kind of hold off on the damage that not having Aaron Gordon can do. But certainly, if Denver's going to contend for a title or try to deal with Oklahoma City in the playoffs, they're going to have a healthy Aaron Gordon. So it'll be interesting to see if Denver can continue to hold steady without what's arguably their third best player at worst. And depending on where you think of Jamal Murray, maybe Aaron Gordon's their second best player. And they've also been without Christian Brown as well. So what Jokic is doing is just, it's unbelievable. And it's so much fun. And it's just so unique because you look at the guy and he doesn't look like any other NBA superstar ever. He doesn't run fast. He doesn't jump high. He's not an Adonis in terms of his body type. He just is a guy who has unbelievable feet, unbelievable hands, unbelievable skill, and vision and a sense of basketball IQ that 99.999% of guys who have played basketball in the NBA or anywhere else possess the kind of basketball IQ that Jokic has. He's just a joy to watch. Every time you get a chance to watch him play, you never know what you're going to see, but you know whatever it is, it's going to be played at a high level. And so, yeah, I think if you're an NBA fan and you're not thankful that you're getting an opportunity to watch Jokic, something's wrong.
Yep. All right, Mike, your first thing.
So my first one is Dan Gilbert of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And here's why. When I look at the success that the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise has had since Dan Gilbert has taken over the team, we've won one title, which is more than any other sports team in this city. And it's one more than the Cavaliers franchise had before Dan Gilbert got to Cleveland. And I just think that when you look around the landscape of owners across sports, not just in Cleveland, but anywhere, what kind of owner do you want to have for your professional sports franchise? One, you want a guy who has a lot of money, and two, isn't afraid to spend it, and three, is a guy who hires basketball people in this case, but if it was a football owner, hires football people, or if it was a baseball owner, hires baseball people, and then lets those people do their job, right? Gets out of their way, lets them do their job, spends money in order to put the most competitive product on the court that he possibly can. And that's what Dan Gilbert has done since day one when he's been in Cleveland. He has spent money, whatever money has been needed to be spent. Right now, the Cavs, you could argue with the roster that they put together, and you and I have debated over and over and over again on the podcast whether or not this roster, as it's constituted, is a championship roster, and that remains to be seen. But the fact that Dan Gilbert is willing to spend money at the direction of his basketball people, Kobe Altman, and the rest of the front office, you've put together
Homestead
the best
Falls
possible
grad
team that
Mike
you can.
Gansey, Mike Gansey.
Correct. Yep. So I just think that when I look at basketball here in the city of Cleveland, the reason why this team's been fun to watch and been successful for most of the Dan Gilbert era is because Dan Gilbert has a lot of money, is willing to spend a lot of money on this team. And as a result of that, he's put people in position in the front office to make decisions, bring in good players, and enable the team to have success. And so I just think that when you look at the other two franchises in this city, and you can certainly not make any argument for Jimmy Haslam being a good owner in any way, shape, or form based on the performance of the Cleveland Browns. And then the Dolans with the Cleveland Guardians, I think they've made good decisions within the confines of not wanting to spend any money. And so they've been held back by the fact that the Dolans don't have the kind of wealth that Dan Gilbert has, and the wealth that they do have they're not necessarily willing to spend it and go 100% all in to retain a guy like Francisco Lindor or to go out and sign free agents or to make the kind of moves that are required to probably win a World Series. Now they've come close, but year in and year out is a lot more of a challenge for the Guardians to be able to be competitive salary wise than it is for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so for that reason, I'm thankful that Dan Gilbert is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, he's been a lot less visible since he had his stroke, and you don't see him in public nearly as much. But the fact remains that it tells you, honestly, that his ownership has been pretty steady, that we haven't noticed really the difference between him being a public figure and him not being a public figure in terms of how this team spends money and how they go about their business. So I'm thankful that Dan Gilbert owns the Cleveland Cavaliers as my first thankful thing here in the NBA.
All right, that was a good one, Mike. And I'm gonna piggyback off this. Okay, I'm gonna continue with the Cavs talk. I'm thankful that it's still November because the Cavs are playing like doo-doo, and I want to be clear here. You are 0-3 against the Toronto Raptors this season, and you basically punted tonight. I'm not saying you completely punted, but you sat 7 or 8 people. I mean, listen, if it wasn't for Naquan Tomlin, I can't believe I'm saying this. There's probably been 2 or 3 games that we may not have won because of that guy. Some random dude that you and I have joked about, like we wouldn't have been able to pick him out of a lineup. He was the leading scorer at halftime for the Cavs. I just think I'm thankful that this is November and it is not, it is not, April and this is what's happening and all these guys are hurt. And so that's where I'm at. I think we have to figure some stuff out, and they need to work at figuring that stuff out, and they need to figure out what's going on with Mobley because tonight in the fourth quarter, for the game, Mobley was 5 of 7, 15 points on the surface. Looks okay. I think 15 points, but he took 0 shots in the fourth quarter. Mike, 0 shots in the fourth quarter. And clearly, Donovan didn't have it tonight. Lonzo Ball was 3 of 15. You got to find a way to get Evan Mobley the ball. And I don't know if it's scheming. I don't know if it's Evan Mobley being weird. I don't know what it is. Donovan was 6 of 20. Lonzo Ball is 3 of 15. Mobley is 5 of 7. So he's shooting the ball. We got to do better.
I'm concerned about Evan Mobley, and we've gone back and forth. I feel like I've been completely hot and cold on Mobley throughout his career. Started out as a rookie, completely hot. Second year, completely cold. Felt like we had seen what he was going to be, that his offense wasn't really going to come around. Great defensive player. Then last year, as the season went on, you started to see more and more flashes of, hey, can this guy really be what we talked about? Can he be the best player on this team? And if he is, does that make the Cavs legitimate championship contenders? And he finishes the season as named Defensive Player of the Year, second team All NBA. So theoretically, however you want to slice it, thought of as at least in the vicinity of a top 10 player in the league. And then I watch him play this year, and statistically, it looks okay. Everything except for his field goal percentage, but part of that he's just shooting more threes, which has brought his percentage down. He's not around the rim as much. But I don't see the things this year in his development that I would have wanted to see. I feel like, and I don't know if you feel this when you're watching the Cavs at this point, but the number of times that he catches the ball on the move, heading towards the rim, and he's 2 feet away from the basket, and he's surrounded by defenders, and he just stops and kicks the ball back out for a 3. He has to, whether it's get stronger, get tougher, get more skilled, I don't know what it is, but he has to be able to score the ball in traffic against good defenses. And I feel like right now, he just isn't capable of either putting the ball on the floor himself and scoring in traffic or catching the ball from someone else, unless it's a lob dunk. If he catches it in the lane and then he has to make a move, he's in trouble. I don't know if it's just that he's not strong enough, he's not skilled enough. I don't know what it is, but I'm concerned about Evan Mobley. I feel like he's worse than he was
Regressed.
last year. I feel like he showed more. I feel like he showed more on the offensive end last year than what he's shown me this year. And I'm glad he can make threes, but I don't really like Evan Mobley standing outside on the 3-point line. I don't think that that's the best use
I
of what he
I
can do. Maybe if
I
you get him the
I
ball
understand.
more at the elbow.
I understand the theory, Mike. I understand the theory of giving space for Mitchell and Garland to work. Okay, I completely
Right.
understand the spirit and understanding, but the difference is when they're not working or they're not doing what they're doing, then you got to change the game plan, right? You've got to figure something out. Like tonight, there's zero excuse for him to only have 7 shots. There's zero excuses. It's not like his minutes were down. Like it baffles me. And he's still a top 5 defender in the league. Okay, I'm just being clear here. I'm not worried about the defensive end of the floor. It's the offensive end of the floor. And I think that's the thing that I completely agree with you on. Like, I'm concerned about his offensive game, for sure.
I just don't think, again, and I've been saying it for years now since Mobley came onto this team. I don't think this team can win a championship if Donovan Mitchell is their best player. It's nothing against Donovan. He's been great for most of this season. He didn't shoot it well tonight. And last game, he was subpar for a lot of the game. But a 6'2 guard as your best player and really your only guy that can get you a basket in clutch moments, I just don't think is enough. I would love to see Evan Mobley get to the point where you could give him the ball, whether it's at the nail, whether it's on the wing, whether it's in the mid post, whether it's in the post, catches the ball, makes some kind of a move from any of those spots, develops a go-to scoring just mentality, and gets you baskets. And right now, he's just not capable of doing that. And I think until he is capable of doing that, that this team has a ceiling. And I don't know what that ceiling is. I don't know how good the Eastern Conference is. I don't know what to make of last year. They got out of the gate so strong, and then they kind of faded down towards the end of the season. Whereas this year they're fading early, so maybe they come back a little bit and start to right the ship as Garland gets back healthy and they are able to get Lonzo in shape and sort of incorporate it into what they're trying to do. And I know we said in the preseason, as we talked about it, even at the end of the year last year, that the regular season this year doesn't mean a whole lot. I said at the beginning, I don't really care if they win 50 games, if they win 62 games, it really doesn't matter. I don't think they're going to win 60 games at this point based on their start. Who knows? If they don't start putting it together, maybe they don't even win 50. But I think in the Eastern Conference, Detroit's playing really well. And we talked last week about how physical they are and how that could potentially be a tough matchup for the Cavs. But I don't think there's anybody in the Eastern Conference that if we played them, I would say, oh, the Cavs have no chance to beat Team X. I just don't think that's the case. There are lots of teams that could beat them for lots of different reasons. I think physicality and toughness is something that this team, those are questions that they're going to have to answer at some point
Yeah.
against some opponent in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But from a talent standpoint, there's no reason why this team shouldn't be able to win the Eastern Conference. But like I said last week, I'm concerned about where they're at. And I'm not sure how tough they are, both mentally and physically, when it comes to pushing through adversity and tough times and when they really need a basket or when they really need a stop. I'm not 100% confident that they're going to be able to get it. I like them when they're in front. They're great. They're a great front running team, but I feel like when times get tough, I'm worried, man. I'm a little worried about what I see so far. And again, like you said, thankful that it's November, thankful that it's early. There's a lot of time. Last year they peaked in December or November, and then it was kind of a uneasy slog all the way through to the playoffs. And then Indiana jumps up and bites you. So maybe you're better off scuffling along at the beginning and getting everybody healthy at the end of the season when it really matters. So we'll see. It remains to be seen what happens, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you have right to be concerned, but to be thankful that it's November.
All right. Your second one, Mike.
Okay, so my second one, I'm gonna go off the board for this podcast, or maybe go in a direction that is going to surprise people with this one. No, I'm not thankful for James Harden. I'm not going that far off the board. I'm not thankful for Joel Embiid's playoff performances. But what I am thankful for is Stephen Curry. And as much as Curry tormented us as Cavs fans for 4 straight years in the finals, and as much as I associate Steph Curry's smile and his celebrations and everything sort of with that being at the expense of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think back to, and I've said this before on the pod, I think back to before the Warriors went on their run when Curry was early in his career, and I got a chance to go see him play here in Cleveland, and just watching him move in person without the ball and the footwork on his shot and just his conditioning and his basketball IQ. There's never been a guy at any level of basketball, at least not to my knowledge, that moves as much, as efficiently all the time as Steph Curry. And that doesn't even take into account the fact that he's the greatest shooter in the history of basketball. But what I love about the guy is that he's constantly moving. And what makes him hard to guard beyond just the skill, when you are willing to just run and run and run and run and make your defender do the same, eventually that other guy's going to quit, or he's going to lose you, or he's going to relax for a minute. And then all of a sudden, that's when you're open. And that becomes double, triple, quadruple the problem when it's Steph Curry. And I think about, again, one of the things that, not to harken back to the olden days when I was a player, but one of the things that I feel like made me effective as a player was the fact that I could outrun people, and not outrun people from baseline to foul line or from baseline to half court in a dead sprint, but I could outrun somebody over the course of a 32-minute high school game or a 40-minute college game, just because simply I was in better condition and I wanted to keep moving all the time. And I'm sure that my movement was nothing compared to Steph Curry. And obviously my ability to shoot the ball was nothing like Steph Curry's ability to shoot the ball. And so when you combine those two things, it's just amazing what Steph has been able to do it in his career. And then I think the other thing that, when I was thinking about how to sort of put this together and why Steph Curry continues to be just an incredible, incredible, just athlete, basketball player, somebody that anybody who loves the game is going to be a fan of this season, right? Steph Curry, who is, I believe, 36 years old. Is that right? Let me think.
37. I'm pretty sure he's 37, right?
30, 37 years old. I don't know. I don't know why basketball reference, which is why I pulled up his stats because I figured they would be better. Doesn't have his age, but he was in the 2009 NBA draft, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. But Steph Curry, for his career, averages 24.8 points per game. This season so far, he's averaging 28.6,
He's
shooting
37. I
above his
was right,
career
Mike.
average in field goal.
So
Good job.
I was right.
So averaging a higher field goal percentage, shooting a slightly worse. He's a 42% career three-point shooter, shooting 40% this year, shooting 91% from the line, which is basically his career average. Again, doing this at age 37, right? We talk about LeBron and how amazing his career has been from a durability standpoint, but you look at Steph and go back to the early parts of his career, and he had the ankle injuries, which is what allowed him to sign. I think it was his first extension. I think he signed a contract that was 4 years, $44 million because the Warriors didn't know if he was going to be healthy, and Steph didn't know if his ankles were going to hold up. So he signed what was ultimately a far, far below market deal when he signed that first extension with the Warriors because nobody knew if he was going to be healthy, him included. And then you look at what he's done in terms of being able to stay in the league, being able to continue to play at a high level and do it in such a unique way with the shooting, with the movement, with the unselfishness. He's just, again, like we talked about with Jokic, he's a completely unique player. He's a guy that there's been lots of people trying to replicate what he does. And it really just, it's just not possible because you combine the movement with the incredible shooting, and it's just, I mean, it's insane when you look at his career. So I just want to walk through the 2009 NBA draft because there's some guys that have been long gone from the NBA. And then there's other guys that you hear their name and you're like, God, that guy's so old. It's crazy. So I'm going to go through the first round. Blake Griffin, retired. Hasheem Thabit was terrible. James Harden, still playing at a high level. Tyreek Evans, the rookie of the year, long since out of the league. Ricky Rubio, finished his career in Cleveland, long since out of the league. Johnny Flynn, never made it really anywhere. So above him, you still have Harden, who's playing at a high level. Number 8, Jordan Hill, since gone. DeMar DeRozan still playing. Brandon Jennings gone. Terrence Williams gone. Gerald Henderson gone. Tyler Hansbrough gone. Earl Clark gone. Austin Day gone. James Johnson gone. Drew Holiday still in the league. Ty Lawson gone. Jeff Teague gone. Eric Maynard. Darren Collison. Victor Claver. Omri Caspi. Byron Mullins. Roddy Boubouami.
Omri
Taj
Caspi.
Gibson.
Oh yeah.
Taj Gibson feels like he should be like 75 years old, even though he's out of the yeah. Damari
Yeah.
Carroll, who was on the Cavs staff. I don't know where he went, but he was on the Cavs staff last year. Wayne Ellington, Tony Douglas, Christian Ienga, former Cleveland Cavalier. I mean, that's your first round of guys that are long since gone. And you have James Harden, who's still playing at a relatively high level, right? Put up 55 against Charlotte over the weekend. And DeRozan still doing DeMar DeRozan things, and Drew Holiday. And that's it. And all of those guys are certainly less than what they were at their peak. And yet Curry, you could argue through the first 14 games of this season at age 37, might be, he's above his career averages. I'm not going to say it's a career year because he won the MVP twice and was incredible in those years. But I mean, what he's done is just, it's unbelievable. And I know that over the course of time that he tortured us here in Cleveland, but now that there's that gap between those Warriors Cavs finals, and I don't think we're going to see a Warriors Cavs final anytime in the remainder of Steph Curry's career. It's kind of time for me to step back and, like I said, go back to the beginning of his career when he was one of my favorite guys to watch in the league. And I think I'm back to that point. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to root for the Warriors, but man, watching Steph play is a joy. So I'm thankful that we got an opportunity to see this guy play, and who knows how much longer he's going to be able to keep doing it. He's still playing at such a high level. It's incredible.
Yeah, you know, I think back to when LeBron left, and then I said I'm really looking forward to watching the Warriors play and not being upset at them because the Cavs were going to be terrible.
Yep.
I feel like that was one of the first things I said in 2019 when we were doing the NBA pod. Like, now that I don't have to worry, I remember enjoying watching the playoffs. I enjoyed watching things. I enjoyed watching them play. I might not like you said, root for them, but yeah, everything you said is true. I agree, Mike, on Steph Curry. All right. Now, while you went off brand for your second thankful, I'm going to be on brand for me. I'm thankful that LeBron is playing basketball again. Just listen, as much as he drives us bananas with the nonsense at times, just understanding that he's the second greatest player of all time. We aren't going to have it forever. We're not going to be able to watch him forever. Still competing at, he's not going to drop, he's not going to have I don't think a 50-point night or a 60-point night. He doesn't have to now. His first game back, his stat line is slightly underwhelming, but he has 11 assists. And, seemingly fits in with the Lakers, and they're playing tomorrow night. They're playing, by the way, the announcers tonight said, I was watching the fourth quarter. They're like, oh, this Wednesday, the Lakers finishing off their road trip against the LA Clippers. I'm like, it's the same stadium. It's not a road trip. That's not a road trip.
It's not the same stadium. It's not the same stadium anymore, but it is the same city. So,
but come on. It's not a road trip though. Get out of here with that. Like, that's not going to, I mean, how far is it down the road? 20 minutes? I mean, maybe in LA traffic, it's 30 minutes. I don't know. But come on now. It's the road, finishing off the road trip. Get out of here with that. Anyways, I'm just going to, whatever we get out of LeBron, I'm just going to appreciate it. Obviously Chris Paul announced his retirement after this. He basically said this is his last run. LeBron, was asked about it yesterday, and he said, I just hope he can enjoy this last hurrah. It will be weird not being able to share the floor with him, like, as an opponent, blah, 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 blah. Which makes me think LeBron is not going to retire after the season because the way that he was wording it. Now, once again, who knows what LeBron's going to do? I think, obviously if he stays healthy this year, that's the decision he's going to have to make. But as I've said, I don't think there's any way that LeBron retires without some sort of sideshow tour, because it's just not going to happen. I think you agree with me on that. Like, we can't not know that it's going to be LeBron's last hurrah. So I'm just going to continue to enjoy him playing basketball when I can. Did you see his? They asked him about Bronny, and he said, I don't know. I don't talk to him much anymore. He moved out of the house. Did you see that clip? Did you see that clip, Mike, or not?
No,
they asked, he's like, oh, he goes out. He's a big boy now. He moved out. He moved out of the house. I don't talk to him as much anymore. Yada yada yada. And then he just, in the middle of the interview, just yells, Bronny, how you feeling over there? And Bronny goes, good. He's like, he's good. And he's like, that's all I ever get from him anyways, or something like that. Like, just one-word answers. He's like, we don't communicate anymore. So it's just fun. It's just funny. I think I'm just going to appreciate LeBron. I'm thankful that LeBron is suiting it up. And I'm just going to enjoy watching him play for as long. Because honestly, like, yeah, I love Jokic but like, when he retires, it will be a sad day. I think it will be a sad day. Whether you and I, like, we have our reservations with LeBron and how he handles his business sometimes, but I think that we can agree that it will be a sad day when he retires. And, but that day, Father Time's coming. I mean, it's coming very soon. We don't know when, but he's coming soon. So I'm gonna appreciate LeBron, whatever he can do, and forever long he can. I'm gonna appreciate it.
Father Time has been coming for 7 years since we started this podcast in June of 2018. I think Father Time has been coming, and LeBron has held them off and held them off and held them off and lapped them a couple times. And Father Time is inevitable and just keeps coming. So yeah, it's going to happen at some point. I'll still go back to when it comes to LeBron. I think about the first time I saw him live when he was a junior in high school at St. Vincent St. Mary, and they played at Cleveland State, and just the unbelievable athleticism and man among boys sense that you got from watching him play 3 or 4 strides from half court down the floor to throw down a dunk, his speed, his jumping ability, his flair for the game, his passing. Again, we forget now that 41-year-old LeBron James looks nothing like 17 or 19 or 21-year-old LeBron James looked in terms of the athleticism. I mean, LeBron's still an incredible athlete for age 41, but compared to what he was like when he was 19 or 21, it's not the same. I mean, he was a complete and utter gazelle when he was that age. He just moved on the basketball court the way nobody has ever moved. And then I still come back to the thing that I always say about LeBron that to me is the most incredible part of his legacy is there's no one probably before or since who has had the kind of notoriety and publicity and expectations placed on him that LeBron had when he was a 16 or 17-year-old kid. Even the most hyped guys that we've had since LeBron, nobody had the same level of sure thing expectation. This guy has a chance to be the best player in the history of the game. There really hasn't been anybody that that's been placed on before or since. And the fact that he got there, and again, you and I would argue that he's the second best player of all time. So if you want to say that he fell short of becoming the best player of all time based on our criteria, I guess we can do that. But the fact that a 15-year-old kid was anointed as the chosen one and made it to play 22 years in the NBA and counting, didn't really have a major misstep off the floor other than the decision. And really, the decision probably wasn't the greatest look, but the honest truth is it if we didn't live in Cleveland, we probably wouldn't be nearly as offended by the decision as we are simply because he was here and it was our team that he was spurning to go to Miami. But never any off court issues, never any difficulty in that area. Sure, he's had his problems with subtweeting and with teammates and with the passive aggressive stuff. And you can knock him for all that. But at the same time, to come into the league as an 18-year-old kid, to handle the media the way he has for the entirety of his career, to be able to lead a team to the finals 8 straight seasons, to win 4 titles with 2 different franchises, to become, I would say, inarguably, at worst, second best player in the history of the game, the all-time leading scorer in the history of the game, to have done all that with the expectations that were placed on him when he was 15 years old. It's really, it's honestly unbelievable that he was able to accomplish what he accomplished, which is exactly what everybody expected and predicted would happen for him when he was 15. And how many guys does that happen for in any sport, in any profession, in any activity? where we identify someone at 15 and say someday this person is going to be the best in the world at what it is that they do, and then it actually comes true. I mean, that's unheard of. And for him to have done that, it's incredible. I don't think he's as good as Michael Jordan. You can argue with me out there as much as you want. I was there for Jordan. I was there for LeBron. I think Michael Jordan's the greatest. In no way, shape, or form does that take away from how great LeBron James has been in his career. And I think that people thought Jordan was going to be good coming out of North Carolina, but they didn't have the same level of expectation for Jordan. Different time, obviously, too. I mean, LeBron, even at the beginning of his career, predates social media and all that kind of stuff. So there's a different level of scrutiny, and each of those guys. I guess Bob Knight thought that Michael Jordan was going to be the best player in the history of basketball. If you think back to that interview during the '84 Olympics when Knight was talking about how great Jordan was. But again, we can quibble it all you want, and people know where we stand on the Jordan versus LeBron debate. But I don't want it to come off like, and I know sometimes it does, that I don't like LeBron or that I'm not a fan of LeBron or that LeBron's not a great player. LeBron's career has been awesome. It, I almost can't even fathom what he's been able to do considering the expectations and pressure that was put on him when he was at St. Vincent St. Mary as a 15, 16-year-old. I mean, I know you remember probably same way I do reading articles about 16-year-old LeBron James playing with the Cavaliers players back at the old Coliseum and just people saying this guy's going to be he's already one of the best players in the NBA and he's not even in the NBA and he's 16 years old. And I just remember reading those articles back in the Plain Dealer about how good this guy was. And so, you know, we were fortunate enough to watch him here in Cleveland for a large portion of his career. He's responsible for the one and only title in this city that you and I have seen, not just from the Cavs, but from any professional sports team. And for that, I'll forever be thankful. And like I said, I know that uh, Jordan's my GOAT, but that's not to take anything away from LeBron. LeBron has had an unbelievable career. And when he goes away, the league's going to be worse off without LeBron in it. And it's been a pleasure to be able to watch him. Not in every moment, because like you said, he hasn't been perfect. But when I think of LeBron, I'll think of the good things way more than I think about the some of the negative things that come along with being a fan of LeBron or being a fan of the Cavs. The positive far outweighs the negative when you look back at the memories of what LeBron did for the city and this franchise and for the league as a whole. So completely concur with the LeBron choice.
All right. Your last one, Mike.
All right. So I've been trying to debate back and forth here because Jokic was my third one. And so when I think about what could I replace Nikola Jokic with, and I was trying to think of, do I want to say I'm thankful for another player? Am I thankful for a team? Am I thankful for some other individual across the league? And I think what it's going to come down to for me is I'm thankful for the skill level of NBA basketball players and just how easy they make the game look comparatively to if you go back and watch NBA games of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and you look at how good the shooting is today and how good the ball handling is today and how good the defense is today, it really is just incredible to watch NBA basketball. I think sometimes we take for granted how good the skill level is across the board of NBA players. I know I do because now when I watch college basketball on TV, I'm always like, gosh, there's a lot of guys on the court that really aren't very good. And yet they are really good. because we're talking about some of the top college teams, players in the country. But you compare their skill level to these guys who are whatever, there's 450 of them in the NBA. And I just think that their ability to shoot the ball, their ability to handle it, their ability to move and defend and think the game, it's just higher than it's ever been. I think it's harder to win an NBA game today than it's ever been. I think the number of really good players on these teams is higher than it's ever been, which makes for a competitive and compelling product. And I'll go along with that too, that there's been this long-standing sentiment. I think it's gone away to some degree that teams don't compete that hard until the fourth quarter, or teams don't really compete that hard until the playoffs. And I'm not saying that there's not a difference, but I think regular season basketball in the NBA has gotten so good that people almost take it for granted. So I just want to say that I'm thankful for the skill level of players. I'm thankful for the competition that we have in the NBA that we get to watch night in and night out, the great players that are going against each other, that are testing each other all the time. And I think people take it for granted how difficult it is to travel and play back to backs and be at your best. And you just take for granted how good these guys are. And when they have a bad night, you're like, oh man, what's wrong with Donovan Mitchell tonight? He only shoots such for such. And you forget that he played last night and then he had to fly and then he had to get out and stay at a hotel and then get to the game and then still play at his best in front of 18,000 people or whatever it is. And we sometimes think of these guys as just little blips on a screen instead of human beings. And I'm thankful that guys put their body on the line to train and to develop their skills and do all the things to make basketball such a great and such a beautiful game. So I'm just thankful for the NBA itself and the skill level of the players that are a part of it, because I think so often we take it for granted how good these guys are. I mean, the average NBA player can stand in an open gym and make 85 out of 100 NBA three pointers. And anybody who's ever tried to do that, you know how hard that is and how skilled you have to be in order to do that and then have that translate to a game. And I marvel all the time at how good these guys are. And sometimes you just have to stop and remind yourself that these are the best of the best of guys in the world playing the game of basketball that I love. That's been a huge part of my life. So I'm thankful for NBA basketball and for the skill level of the players.
How many threes would you make behind the arc if you shot 100, Mike, for NBA right now?
Today, right now, I wouldn't make very many.
Unguarded.
Unguarded. You know what's hilarious to me? Here's the thing that's funny to me about that question is when I think about me shooting NBA threes right now, or even thinking about shooting NBA threes back when I was actually in condition and working on my shot, working on my game all the time, I still feel like an NBA three would have caused me to strain a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have been a natural necessarily motion. I would have had to put a little extra oomph into it. And yet today, like I watch Madeline's team or I watch high school girls take threes from the same range. Because when I played in college basketball, the three was where the high school line is. It wasn't back the whatever
Yeah.
9 inches that it is behind the top of the key now. And I watch high school JV girls firing up threes, and not necessarily that they even make them, but I don't watch them strain at all to shoot a shot from the high school 3 point line. They're launching them from anywhere.
Yeah.
And
I find it hilarious, Mike, when I'm playing like every once in a while in practice we'll just we'll shoot half court shots just to kind of just like shoot, and like they're running and they're chucking it. I literally shoot a half court shot like it's a jumper, Mike. I don't even take a running start. I just shoot it like a jumper, and they all look at me like I'm a crazy person.
yeah. See, I feel the opposite.
And
I feel like, and I feel like for me to shoot threes, right now to shoot NBA threes, I feel like that would be a strain. Now, if you gave me a week to shoot NBA threes and then had me go out and shoot them, I don't know. I'd like to think I could make between 60 and 70. But if you just put me out there today and didn't give me any chance to kind of calibrate, I probably I don't think I'd get close to that number. I think I'd be lucky to
Okay.
make 50
I
in
think
all
I
honesty.
all right, Mike. All right, Mike. Here's what we're gonna. I think this summer, this is a project. We're gonna do it for the pod.
Okay.
Content for the
I'm ready
pod
for it.
when we're in the doldrums of summer. We'll start. We'll do a
Okay.
1 week when we're at Toronto Rec Center on like on like the first day of the week. We'll do some kind of calibration check, and then you can do
Okay.
whatever you need to do, and then a week later you'll do it again. I think we do it.
All right.
I think that would be interesting.
All
I think
right.
that would be interesting. Our
It
listeners
would
are
be.
begging for our 5 listeners on YouTube or whatever are begging for this content, Mike. We'll
Here we
track your
go.
stats. We'll keep and then we'll let everyone know how Mike Klinzing, retiree Mike Klinzing, people when they retire they go golfing or they pick up hobbies. No, Mike's gonna shoot NBA threes. That's what we're gonna do. All right, how does that sound, Mike?
Well, it sounds great. Here's what's funny is that Nelson, my friend who had the a shooting gym basically with Dr. Dish, and my daughter and my son both went up there and shot all the time, and his facility closed in the last month. And so when I retired, there was a part of me that was saying, what I want to do is I want to go up and I want to just shoot on the Dr. Dish all the time and just see if I can get myself again, not back in shape to play, but just could I get myself back in shape where I could go and do a workout where I'm just taking 300 shots and actually get my shot back to where I felt like it was like I could make them on a regular basis and not really be thinking about what I'm doing. And then his place closed. So he's supposed to reopen again soon. So maybe I'll still do that if we rejoin and I can get in there and get some shots
Well,
up during the day when
what?
the
Well, how
place is
about?
empty.
I feel like we just need to reach out to our sponsor, Dr. Dish, and get you a shooting machine you could just use in your driveway or something.
There we
What the
go.
heck?
All right.
That's a
Well, I'm
good like.
supposed to have a call with I'm supposed to have a call with Gabby, my new rep at Dr. Dish. I'm having a call with her tomorrow, so I'll put the word out. Maybe they'll ship me a Dr. Dish home or something that I can wheel up to the rack and get some shots up there. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
You go.
It
All
would be an
right. All
interesting.
right. So
It's an interesting experiment for sure. And who knows? Who knows what? Maybe I'm selling myself short or high. I don't know which one. We'd have to really collect some data
well,
because
and we can make it a We can make it a competition. I have to make half as many as you because I was nowhere near a shooter as you are, Mike. So I don't know. I don't even
well,
know. I don't even know what that. I think you have to we have to be handicapped or something. I don't know. I mean, I've definitely shot the
I feel
ball more
pretty.
than you have in recent,
Yeah, in any
but
type of
I feel pretty
competition. I mean,
confident
I
that you
get.
would beat me.
Yeah, we got. Well, if you give me a week or two, I feel pretty confident I probably could. If you just throw me out there and give me 5 minutes to warm up, I'm not sure that I might need a week to kind of groove my shot.
Yeah,
It's funny how fast it goes in terms of, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm 55 years old. I don't expect to be shooting the ball like Steph Curry. And considering I haven't played a competitive basketball game since I was 42, I wouldn't expect to be able to do it at a high level. But it is amazing how fast it goes in terms of my ability to just shoot the ball quickly or be able to move in any kind of way and shoot the ball. I mean, obviously, I can do the lazy stand around, dribble between your legs, take a three and shoot it, that kind of shot. But to be able to move or even to just slide around the arc, it's a different feel because you got to have some
yeah.
conditioning. You
I
got to be
remember
able
in
to move. So
2019 when I
who
tried to
knows?
get I remember in 2019 when I tried to get you to come out of retirement just to stand in the corner and shoot threes, and you wouldn't even do that, Mike. I was just trying to. It was like, Mike, just
I
come.
know.
We need a body. Just come and stand in the corner. I'll drive to the lane. You just shoot the ball in the corner. You weren't willing to even do that, Mike. It was sad. It would have made my day to play one basketball game with Mike Klinzing. It would have made my day.
Well, maybe we'll have to try to make that happen maybe at some point now that I'm retired. Who knows? I can go stand in the corner for your
get
team at some
get
point.
your knee
I
situation.
don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't even play. I don't even know, Mike. If
I'm not even.
I don't even know if I don't even know if I'm gonna like play in a league. Like I'm technically on a roster right now for the 4-on-4 35 and older league, but I have to play 3 games in order to qualify for the playoffs. But like they haven't even asked me to play yet, so it doesn't cost me anything. They just needed if I show up to play a game, it's like $5 or whatever. But they haven't asked me, and I'm not like itching right now to play. Like I play enough in practices and stuff, and go through drills and stuff, and I've gone to a few open gyms just to get my running in. But I think I'm good. Like if I play, I play. If I don't, I don't. That's where I'm at right now. I also am stupidly going to play football on Thanksgiving. So if next week I'm in like a body cast, that's what happened. But at the age of 39, playing football may not be like my brightest idea, but it's something we've done since I was 15. It's all my buddies from then, with obviously some mismatched group of us playing. So if I'm in a body cast next week on the podcast, you guys know what happened to me. So
There you go. Here's what I'll say about playing. I miss it more than anything, but I only miss it playing at a level that I could play when I still could move. I don't miss it playing the way that I was playing at the very end when I tore my knee and I couldn't move the way that I wanted to. So I miss it desperately, but I don't miss it probably in the form that I could come back and play in. And then the second part of that is that if I were to play, I probably wouldn't be able to walk for 2 or 3 days afterwards because I'd be so sore and out of condition. Even I'll give you a great
well,
example, Jay. So for people that don't know, I had right before I retired, a couple days before I retired, I had hernia surgery. And so as one of the conditions of recovery from hernia surgery, you can no longer do any lifting of any weights. And not that I was cranking out and being a power lifter in any way, shape, or form, but part of my alternating every other day of weightlifting workouts. When I was doing leg work, I would do some squats and some lunges and different things. And so, for the time when I was recovering from hernia surgery from the end of September until about 10 days ago, obviously I wasn't doing any of those exercises. And so, when I finally resumed my lifting program with, again, I'm talking about squatting with like 40 or 50 pounds, the next day I was so sore from doing that. And it took me just now, I've done that workout, I think 4 times, maybe five. And I'm just now to the point where I'm not sore, where I'm having to walk stiff legged down the stairs. So as you get older, you definitely have to recover longer. So to circle all the way back to the beginning of this discussion, NBA players today are unbelievably skilled. I'm thankful for that. And it makes the game just so much fun to watch. So thanks for listening to our old man discussion about me potentially coming
wait,
back
Mike,
to
wait, hold on, Mike,
shoot some
wait,
threes.
Mike,
What?
Mike,
Okay,
Mike,
go.
Mike. I want your 1 minute, no more than that. 1 minute takeaway. Shedeur Sanders. What do you think?
I mean, I didn't see anything that leaped off the page at me that this guy is unbelievable. I didn't see a rocket arm. I didn't see incredible speed taking off as a running quarterback. I didn't see incredible processing and finding the open guy every single time. That being said, I do feel like he was much better than Dylan Gabriel. So the I don't understand why the Browns would be playing Dylan Gabriel ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And I do think that there's something to be said for swagger and confidence of a guy, and it seems like he has swagger and confidence. Now, whether or not he'll be able to back that up against a semi-competent team, I have no idea. Let's put it this way. I'd much rather watch him for the rest of the season than watch the Browns roll out Dylan Gabriel because at least Shador has a chance to become an above average quarterback, which I don't think Dylan Gabriel, based on what we saw, has any chance of becoming that. So I'm glad to see Sanders in there. I thought he played okay, average, mediocre as a quarterback, but for his first start, I'd rather see him in there than Gabriel. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, my only big that the two throws that he made, the throw that he made rolling to his right, the 53-yard dot that he threw to Isaiah Bond. I think that was probably his best throw. And then his second best throw was unfortunately the Jerry Jeudy play where Jerry Jeudy decided that he was going to be an idiot. Right? Like that was a great throw. I felt like once again that both of those plays he was rolling to his right. That was a great throw. Jerry Jeudy, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if like he was just going hop, skipping, and jumping. He's an idiot. He's a clown. Get rid of him. I'm done with him. I'm done with him. Like he's a clown. I'm over it. Like, listen, what say what you will about the drafting that Barry has done in the past. I feel like he pretty much hit the nail on the head with these wide receivers, these running backs, the tight end situation. All these rookies are showing up and doing the work. So I don't know. It's and of course Miles is out of his mind, like out of his mind. He's probably going to set the NFL record for sacks in a season if he continues on the path that he's on. Like, listen, I just think for what we watched for 5 weeks or whatever with Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan Gabriel did win one game. I don't know how you can, and I like Kevin Stefanski, but I don't know how you could possibly think. And once again, I'm not saying that Shedeur Sanders is the ultimate, like he's going to win us a Super Bowl or anything, but like I don't know how anyone could see what we saw in one game from Shedeur Sanders and ever think that Dylan Gabriel should be ahead of him ever again. Like I just don't understand. Like I don't know if you saw the play. Someone put the play of the swing pass that Dylan Gabriel completely missed over top the Shedeur Sanders play and said, here's your only evidence you need as to why like Dylan Gabriel missed the pass by like 5 yards, like over the guy's head. Whereas Sanders, once again, all Sanders did was throw a swing pass that led to a 66-yard touchdown but that wasn't even possible when Dylan Gabriel was quarterback because Dylan Gabriel was missing the throws. And there was the TikTok, I don't know if you saw here, Dylan Gabriel's the 10 worst throws of the week, and it was all Dylan Gabriel completely missing the player he was throwing the ball to. So, like, whether or not Shedeur Sanders is the answer, I said this, I think, last week or the week before, I sure as heck know that he is. I don't know that Shedeur Sanders is the answer, but I sure as heck know that Dylan Gabriel is not the answer. Okay? He's a shorter, way worse version of Baker Mayfield. Okay? And I know your stance on Baker Mayfield. Dylan Gabriel is not Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield came out and at least had a personality. Dylan Gabriel is like has no personality, and I'm sure he's a good, cool dude. I'm sure he's a respectable human being. I'm not saying that, but I just like you said, when Shedeur talks, you kind of don't know what he's gonna say. I don't know. You don't know what he's gonna say, and sometimes you need that a little bit. You need that little bit of, just a little bit of mystique and mysteriousness about yourself. I don't know.
You got to be able to throw the ball downfield. I mean, that's the bottom line. With Dylan Gabriel, the Browns could never throw the ball beyond 15 yards down the field. And if you don't stretch the defense, there's nothing you can do. And so, like I said last week, you got to throw Shedeur out there and find out.
There was a stat. that Shedeur Sanders had 3 completions of over 35 yards yesterday. The Browns as a team had 1 coming into this game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you can't win if you can't win in the NFL if there's not even a threat to throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is you have to find out if
Yeah.
Shedeur is a guy that you think can be a viable starting quarterback, so that you go into next year's draft where are you looking for a quarterback 100%, or are you in a position where you could draft a guy at a different position of need, saying, "Hey, we've got Shedeur," and maybe if another quarterback in the second round falls into your lap, maybe you draft somebody. I would say by the end of this season, we should have at least a decent idea of whether or not Shedeur Sanders can be. And again, I'm not talking about a franchise quarterback, top 5 guy in the league. You're not going to know that, but you're certainly going to know whether he's a competent starting quarterback going forward. And if he is, maybe after he gets a little bit more experience, maybe he can be even more than that. Who knows? But he's certainly, as you said, Dylan Gabriel is clearly not the answer. I don't know if Shedeur is, but Shedeur certainly showed more in this game as far as an ability to throw the ball downfield and just at least get the offense moving a little bit with the threat of a downfield pass. So, yeah, I was glad to see him in there, and not because I'm a huge fan or not because I want to see, hey, I think this guy's going to be a top 3 quarterback in the league. I just want to see what he is and see what we need to do heading into next year's draft. And that's kind of my stance on the whole thing. And what's sad about it is that our division is so horrible that if this team was, and our defense is, I still think our defense has a little bit of a fraud
Well,
element to it because
Mike, there's 3 games we should have won, right? Like, you think back, the Bengals, we should have won that game, the first game of the season, right? They should have won that game. They should have won the game in London that Carson Wentz literally had his arm ripped off of his body, and they still couldn't win that game. They should have won the Jets game. There's zero excuse. Like, they gave 2 special teams touchdowns in a literally 2.5 minute span. So, like, there's no reason that this team, if they're sitting here now at, what would they be? They'd be 6-6, right? They would be 6-6 right now if they win those 3 games that they should have won. Like, all 3 of those games were games they should have won. We would legitimately be talking about the playoffs, which is crazy. Like, but we would legitimately be talking about the playoffs, right? I mean, we would be saying there's a chance they make the playoffs. At all, you can go, if you go 10-7, you're in the playoffs this year. I mean, this division this division could end up being 9-8 and winning the division. Like, honestly, they could win a team could win the division. Not the Browns. The Browns theoretically mathematically have not been eliminated yet, Mike. I'm going to be clear here. I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs, okay? But they have not been mathematically eliminated. But what I'm saying is, if they win like 2 of those games, we're talking about it. Like, we're legitimately talking about it, and not completely off base. So, oh well. I think that's enough Browns talk. Our listeners, if anyone's listening still, us talking about the Browns, and then they're true hoophead / lovers right now. So,
Browns have a playoff defense. I'll say that the Browns defense is good enough to be a playoff defense, and the offense just hasn't been there. And again, even against the pitiful Raiders, they still could barely move the ball up and down the field and score. So it remains to be seen. But I do like this draft class. I am glad that they're playing Shedeur. I still have no trust in this franchise that they're not going to figure out a way to mess up whatever good things that they do. So we will leave it there. Again, the 3 things that we are thankful for this NBA season and beyond. So thank you to everyone out there who stuck with us through this episode. We hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. You will get our regular interview episode on Thanksgiving night, which will be triple double number 22 with Rob Brost. But in the meantime, we hope you enjoyed this NBA episode, and we will catch you on